All right, let's do this podcast thing, people. Good evening and welcome into another episode, of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike. Thanks for checking back in with us. We certainly appreciate it. And we do have a lot to get to tonight, so why don't we get going here? And here's, first and foremost, here's where you can find us on social media and the interwebs. First place is our website, ahpod.com. That's ahhpod.com. Check that out for our blog and more information about our show. You can also find us on all the usual social media platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for America's Hometown Horror, and you will find us. You can also drop us a line at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. And want to mention both of our sponsors, first of which is Horror Facts Magazine. You can find them at horrorfacts.com. It's a great resource for any horror fan for news, reviews, editorials, and they have a great section with a lot of different horror podcasts, but our horror podcast is also right there, so you can find us there on horrorfacts.com. Last but certainly not least, we are now an affiliate of Fangoria Magazine, the first name in fright since 1979. Head on over to shop.fangoria.com/hometownhorrorpod, or just use the code hometownhorrorpod at checkout for your exclusive 20% discount on all merchandise and first-time magazine subscriptions. And if you want to support this podcast directly, you can head on over to inebriart.com, go to their events page, and buy yourself some tickets to the Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention, which will be taking place on October 28th of this year at Mayflower Brewing Company in lovely Plymouth, Massachusetts, America's hometown, baby. And that con is now sponsored by our friends over at HalloweenNewEngland.com, which is the website for the truly Halloween obsessed. They have the most extensive guides to Halloween haunted houses, ghost tours, classic horror film screenings, jack-o'-lantern festivals, haunted hayrides, and more. They've got all the thrills covered throughout September and October, with over 2,500 Halloween events on their events calendar and hundreds of local Halloween attractions. The only place you'll find everything from haunted history tours and costume contests to which haunts are open on a Thursday night. HalloweenNewEngland.com has you covered. And last but certainly not least, if you've noticed a difference in the sound quality of our show the last couple of weeks, we're now being produced by our friend Sean over at Skywheel Media. If you have a podcast that you're looking to take to the next level, get in touch with us and we can put you in touch with Skywheel Media before their website launches.
The sky's the limit.
Yeah. The wheel in the sky keeps on turning, as Andrew said last week.
You got to keep it fresh.
All right. Well, now would be as good of a time as any to introduce my fellow co-hosts. It's a boys' night tonight. Kat is off, and it's just Miguel, Andrew, and Matthew. Gentlemen, no lady. Hello. What's up?
How are we doing?
Howdy doody time.
How's everybody doing? What's going on?
We're doing
good. You have a nice 4th?
Yeah. How was everybody's 4th? Everybody have a good time in the rain?
I spent the entire day watching OSHA safety videos.
Oh.
7.5 hours. I maxed out my limit.
You didn't watch a little Jaws that day?
I did watch a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
I did both at the same time.
Yeah, you can do both.
I watched Jaws. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Oh, okay.
I forgot that it's been a couple weeks since we've recorded, since we technically took a week off and then, put one out last week. And I'm sure we have a lot to talk about in terms of watching. And there's a lot of holiday stuff to watch for the 4th of July. I feel like there's a lot of good horror movies for that. I know Matt has 2 specific ones that we'll probably cover. But
for sure.
But yeah, hope everybody had a great 4th of July. And we're talking some fun stuff tonight. And we're going to be talking some horror in the summer, my friends. But a couple newsworthy things to just hit on real quick before we get into our other stuff tonight. If you're a fan of What We Do in the Shadows, the FX TV show, that returns this week, which I personally could not be more excited for. I know I am a huge fan of this show, as is Kat. Gentlemen, you guys as well. Andrew, I think you got into it recently, right? Yep. It's pretty good.
Very into it,
So I think we talked about this before, but do you like the movie better or the TV show better?
I haven't seen the movie in so long that I can't really answer that question. The show fucking slaps.
I think we're at the point now for me where the TV show has surpassed the movie. It's just so fucking funny and so good and has so many horror references. It's so awesome. Matt, what about you?
I support the TV show because I love Kyle Newacek. He's one of the directors, and he is one of the main writers and directors from Workaholics.
Ooh, okay.
And I love them, and this is important, their whole podcast. So I definitely support the show through and through.
Beautiful.
And I watch episodes kind of sporadically because it's hilarious and I can catch up kind of here and there.
I feel like that's one of the shows, like there is a plot line that follows through from season to season, but you don't necessarily have to follow it to enjoy the show. There are a lot of like really funny standalone episodes that have a lot of good deep cut and not so deep cut horror references. So I can't wait for What We Do in the Shadows to get back. FX just spitting out some unreal TV over the last month or so with The Bear, What We Do in the Shadows, and over the last decade, but especially over the last month, and Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'm actually behind on that show now.
I always just wait now at this point where they're on Hulu. Yeah, I just wait till they're all out. That's actually one show I will just kind of like crank through.
Binge.
So
absolutely. Gentlemen, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the fact that Insidious: The Red Door was launching in theaters. And some news to report here. It scared up the biggest box office opening for the film franchise in over 10 years. It made over $32.6 million in its opening weekend and beat Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in its opening weekend.
Wow.
Which is
pretty
kind of incredible. I know that Dial of Destiny has kind of been taking a little bit of a beating.
Sucks.
So I've heard mixed things from different sources. I like the Indiana Jones movies. It was never one of my huge nostalgic franchises that I followed when I was a kid. I mean, I enjoyed them.
I love the first three are the best.
The first three are very, very
Raiders
good.
Raiders of the Lost Ark was fucking cool.
Raiders of the Lost Ark's awesome. I actually really like Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade's dope because it has Sean Connery in it.
Yeah,
and
I
actually,
guess they're all pretty cool.
I did not...
Except for the fourth one.
Now that you've named all three
all right, so
Like, wait a minute,
I did not hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I like the fact they involved Area 51 and aliens and UFOs.
That was cool.
But yeah, maybe I can see where people had a little bit of an issue with it. But I guess this one, they said, is kind of a little bit of a return to form from the original, but it's not really doing well review-wise or box office-wise because it's getting beaten by the fifth Insidious movie. So
this is the fifth Insidious movie?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. So, but I mean, hey, it just another win for horror. I mean, $32.6 million.
I mean, I'm never going to watch Insidious, the Red.
I mean, I'm going to see it when it comes out in theaters. I know Kat was very, very excited about this.
The Red Rocket.
Kat wanted to get a babysitter for this movie. We never followed through on it. So now we're just going to wait until
I would have
babysat. Yeah, I know. Well, maybe we still can. We'll see. It's still
that door's closed now. Sorry.
Yeah, but
that door is closed.
Never, ever did I think.
Points.
High five.
Wow, good for you. Never, ever did I think I would see a horror movie beat an Indiana Jones movie. The last
Harrison
Indiana
Ford being
movie.
like 83.
Right? Well, I guess it's indicative of movies today, right? Most of the movie, I guess, is actually Harrison Ford being in his 80s playing Indiana Jones, but there is one section at the beginning of the movie where they use the de-aging technology.
I hate
guess
that.
it
So
doesn't.
why don't they do like young Indiana
doesn't look
Jones?
good,
Why don't
I
they
guess.
do that?
Well, I guess if River Phoenix was still alive,
Yeah,
he'd be a good Indiana Jones probably. He's a good actor. I like him a lot. But yeah, big win for Insidious: The Red Door, directed by our buddy Patrick Wilson, who Andrew gets confused with James Marsden all the time, as in last week. And last but certainly not
nerdy
least,
white dudes.
in terms of horror releases, you can now also watch The Blackening at home on demand.
I heard it was pretty funny.
Pretty good.
One of my buddies saw it. He said it's very funny.
The trailer when we saw it was really good.
Definitely want to check that out.
It's gory. It's a splatterfest.
Okay. I didn't hear that.
And it's funny.
I really don't know much about it, so I definitely want to check
it's
that out.
It's like a gory, scary movie, too, is the best way I've heard it described.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Also, if you guys are interested, I would really love to share a piece of news about the Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention. It was posted on social media today, but hey, if it's out there, we can talk about it on the podcast. But I'm very happy to announce that we now have our first guest that we've booked for this event, and I feel like everybody knows that horror conventions are only as good as their guests that are coming to sign autographs and take pictures and do all that kind of stuff. But exciting news, everybody! We are very thrilled to announce that we have an actor named Matthew G. Taylor, who is a Canadian-born actor and stuntman, who you may recognize from such films as Resident Evil Apocalypse, in which he played Nemesis, which is one of the major villains.
Might not recognize him entirely.
That's correct. Yes, he was in a bunch of makeup, but
he is that guy.
Yep, he's also been in. I didn't realize that there was a Boondock Saints 2. He's been in that. He's been in a bunch of other stuff, and he's the first of many guests that we're looking to announce for this event. He's the first one that we officially can confirm. So Again, another reason for you to buy a ticket to Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention at Mayflower Brewing.
Yeah, he's gigantic.
Yep, he's a gigantic human.
How big is
and he's about 6'8" or 6'9", I
Damn.
believe. And he's built like a brick shithouse. So you can come meet him at Mayflower Brewing Company on October 28th of this year. So, wow, what a time to be alive where we here at America's Hometown Horror are planning a horror convention in Plymouth. It's a fun time to be alive, my friends. So anyway, that's what I got for news, which means we're moving on to watch list. Before we get to our exciting topic tonight, I have one thing. Matthew, would you like to start? I know you said you had a lot to get to.
For watch list?
Yes.
Sure. So every 3rd of July, I watch Return of the Living Dead.
Yes.
1985 goofy horror movie classic. It's one of my favorites. I think it's a quintessential 80s horror movie. It's 1985. It's right in the center of everything. It's this and like Reanimator, and ironically enough, are both 1985 movies. And I think that they both capture both ends of the spectrum in terms of what is 1985 horror or 1980 horror, of being kind of campy, but also being over the top, gory, and also like scary and ridiculous, all of it. But it does take place on the 3rd of July, so it is a 3rd of July movie.
Yep.
4th of July, I watched Jaws.
Same.
And Jaws 2.
Ooh, I didn't watch Jaws 2, but I watched Jaws 2.
I usually don't watch Jaws 2, but I watched Jaws. I have the 4K edition, which is actually really good. You know what I always forget is that you see the shark when they're in the pond with the sailboat.
That would be my favorite time seeing the shark.
That might be the best scene. It's the best scene in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And that guy is on his canoe.
Hey, you guys.
Yeah, and the shark comes up. Dude,
you're doing okay over there?
I swear to God, next year I'll say, hey, I always forget that you see the shark. You see it come up, and it's huge.
Gigantic. It's honestly like, I know it's supposed to be a great white shark in the movie, but it's big enough in the movie that it's essentially a megalodon. It's gigantic.
Dude. And that scene is fucking terrifying. It's unbelievable how scary that fucking scene is, seeing that shark. The movie rocks. Jaws is great, but I decided, I knew that all of them were on, I think Tubi. I could be wrong. I forget. Either way, I watched Peacock. They're all on Peacock.
Okay.
So I threw on Jaws 2 afterwards because it's not, I haven't seen it in a while. I wasn't going to bother with 3 and 4.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jaws 2
I know Jaws 2 is actually respected. I guess there's a Blu-ray release that combines the two as like one gigantic movie, including deleted scenes, which is very cool.
Did not know that.
4th of July was a rainy day. So I also did I watched Slumber Party Massacre, which is a great little slasher movie. It's super short. It's like 76 minutes.
Oh, perfect.
Great 80s horror slasher. It's actually written by a woman, which is interesting because it still is very like male centric. It zones in on women, their bodies, this, that, and the other thing. But it made the characters much smarter. Which is you can appreciate that. They're not just there to be killed, they're there to survive. But it's still an 80s slasher, so you have great kills. He kills the guys, everyone with the guy has like a drill. It's wild. A good little slasher. And then
great tool to kill people with, a drill.
A rewatch of The Burning, which is one of my favorite slashers of all time. It's a 1981, I think. Summer camp killer movie. He kills people with garden shears. It's wild. A bunch of kids burn this guy as a prank by accident. And he's a camp counselor. He comes back and exacts his revenge. You get the rest. And then I watched Sleepaway Camp 1, 2, and 3. I kept this whole, clearly I had a theme going.
Say you are big into the summertime horror movies this year.
So
I love it. I mean, the 4th of July, I mean, it's epitome of summer. So
yeah.
Horror,
it was a rainy day. I was kind of crushing some homework stuff for work. So these are playing in the background. And great kills. I'm not going to, if you haven't seen Sleepaway Camp and you haven't seen the twist ending, I'm not going to spoil it for you because you should go watch it. They're all on Tubi. All of these movies are on Tubi. Go check them out. They get better in terms of ridiculousness as they go, kills wise. The third one, not so much, but the second one is definitely, it's at least if you're going to watch a few of them, watch the first two. They're fun. Then I watched a movie that was a little more serious called The Wailing. So this is a Korean horror film. I want to say it's 2016, so I don't think it meets our criteria. But it's about this Korean police officer who's dealing with this string of events going on, realizing slowly but surely that there's some sort of infection that is happening, and it eventually starts to affect his family, and they're trying to figure out what it is. Really, really well done movie. It's right up there with like Train to Busan in terms of like tension. It's long as shit. It's like 2.5 hours long, but it's super well done. It's very, I don't know what the fuck it is about Korean movies, dramas, horror movies, all of them. They're wicked funny. I don't know if that's on purpose, if their sense of humor is just like that dry that it's like, it's just funny, but like there's laugh out loud funny parts, but it's a crazy movie. It's very, very, very upsetting as it plays out. It's very bleak. Brutal fucking movie if you haven't seen it. That's The Wailing. And then I watched Black Sunday in 1960, Mario Bava. Classic. Barbara Steele plays a witch.
A little giallo.
Yeah. A little Italian gem. This is a fantastic ghost story, witch story, quick little banger, black and white. I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies from the year of 1960. That's all I got. And then I watched the what is it called? The Blue Sea,
Deep Blue Sea?
Deep Blue. No, not the movie Deep Blue Sea, but the Black Mirror episode with Aaron Paul and Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, that was
So that was
beyond the sea.
Beyond the Sea.
Yep.
Okay, so I watched that. That was rough.
Very, very rough.
Yeah, that was real bleak. Incredibly well done, well acted, but fucking, you know what? I got into it and I got halfway and I was like, I already know what's gonna happen, dude. And I was already bummed out about it. I was like, this is gonna either go one way or the other. I won't go into spoilers because I think this is still new enough that people can watch it. But fucking Christ,
yeah.
dude.
I mean, I feel like it definitely is predictable in the sense that like you
get the idea of like you know, like there
you have a feeling
once a certain event in the story happens and
like this is not going to work out.
One character does something to try and be nice.
Yeah, you're like,
moral of the story, don't be nice.
Don't be nice to people.
We were talking about this earlier. Fuck people. Life sucks.
Yeah. No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, and literally, that's the moral of the story is no good deed goes quite literally unfathomably punished.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
I think that wraps up my little fucking.
That's quite the watch list you got there, buddy.
Yeah. But I mean,
a couple weeks.
I'll go quick before Andrew because the only thing that I really rewatched was Jaws, and I mean I know we did an entire episode on it, but it's just continually every time I watch Jaws, I just can't stop quoting the movie the entire time. It's my favorite movie of all. Like that or Goodfellas, it's like neck and neck. I can't tell. Like,
can I say one thing about Jaws?
Sure.
As I was watching it, me and my buddy Mike that I used to live with, we come up with like kind of like skits on our heads that we never ever obviously write or act out. But we thought it would be funny to be a skit about like unburied footage behind the scenes of them directing Jaws where Steven Spielberg is just obsessed with the shark having an asshole.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
And they just can't get him off of it. And it's all like the people behind the scenes being like, I don't know what the fuck his problem is. We're 4 weeks in, we have zero footage. It's just him trying to get a shark to have an asshole.
That would make for a great, I think you should leave
because it has 2 holes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's kind of what I was going off of, but I don't know. I thought it was funny. So,
I mean, honestly, I watch the movie at least once a year, sometimes twice. But
you watched it twice because I watched it with you.
Yeah.
And then you watched it again?
No.
Was that the night we watched it?
The night we watched it, I watched
okay.
it. So, and obviously, like, you know, I hate to, again, to reference, I think you should leave. I try not to reference everything as a parent now. But I feel like just when you become a parent, you look at things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Jaws is horrifying when you're thinking about, like, you know, just letting your kids have a fun time at the beach or do whatever. And there are so many scary situations where, like, there are kids in peril. And like, there's one that, you know, famously goes out in a horrendous way. And it's such a well done movie. It's so tense. It's so scary. It's so well acted. It's so well directed. And yeah, Matt, I agree with you. Like that scene with the guy that gets the boat flipped over when he's trying to help the kids in the pond, like, and you see just like the essence of the shark
It's like you see it underwater.
Underneath
and you're
the
like,
water.
Fucking holy shit, dude.
and you see how big it is.
Yeah.
But like the part that like makes me get chills, and I'm like getting chills right now thinking about it, is even before that, when you see the fin and the tail fin, how far apart
away,
from each other they are, before it goes and does that, you realize like how big
this thing's gigantic.
this shark
I
is.
ain't going in the ocean anytime.
And I mean, to be fair, like there is the greatest, the largest great white shark on record, I think, is 23 feet.
It's a
which is
big
fucking
boy.
huge, dude.
And I think, say, Quint says that it's a 25-footer in this movie,
So that's
which
pretty
is
much the
a
biggest shark.
gigantic fish.
Besides
It's
the
just-
Gastrobus.
Yeah, it's just, it's so well done. I could watch Jaws every day the rest of my life and never be disappointed.
I mean, it doesn't
yeah,
disappoint.
It doesn't ever.
Comes
It's just,
through
it's so good.
every time.
And I feel like that is essential viewing around the
Movie.
fourth
That's a
floor.
movie that never ages. It's
No.
just perfect.
Yeah, it's very
Honestly,
good.
like you are absolutely right. It feels
It's
it's not
extremely entertaining.
paced like a movie that came out in the 70s. It's paced
No.
like a movie from today, and I feel like that's the Spielberg effect, right? Like he was ahead of his time, so it's unbelievable.
It's extremely entertaining.
From start to finish.
Love it. Love it.
It does still feel like a long movie, though.
How long is that movie?
It's like 2 hours
2
and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a
But
long movie.
it feels like 2 hours.
Well, there's
and 5
parts that drag
Yeah.
in that movie.
See,
Like,
I would disagree with that. I think every part is good. I feel like
I
every
do
part
too, but
establishes
it's-
character, establishes like.
oh, it has
like
but as far as like people
Watching
that
it,
have
I was like, this is
ADHD,
definitely like
it
this
does
is a long
drag.
movie.
To
I feel like the average blockbuster today that's 2 hours and 40 minutes drags way more than Jaws.
Yeah, it's just about fucking
superheroes. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what
but
those
that's a story for another podcast.
We're not talking about that.
Andrew, what about
Talk
you?
about that.
I know you watched Jaws with us, but
I
you watched
Jaws
anything
with
cool?
you.
Anything else
I
besides
watched
that?
a good deal of non-horror movies, but I did watch 3 horror movies. So I watched 1976 Toby Hooper Eaten Alive. You ever seen that?
No.
So basically, it's this deranged lunatic guy that owns a hotel in like the swamp of Louisiana, and he has this giant crocodile on the
Okay.
property, and it's kind of like he's almost like Norman Bates, except
Instead of the
Just
mom, it's a
ins-
crocodile.
it's just he's just insane, and he
They
just doesn't
feed
like
you a little
he doesn't
crocodile.
like anybody, and he basically like just starts. He kills probably 8 people, and he either kills them with like a scythe or a
Crocodile.
pitchfork, and then he just feeds them to the crocodile, and they just eat. It's a wild movie. It's
Okay.
I don't know if it's good, but it's entertaining. It's
Yeah,
pretty-
I
it's-
mean,
it's
Toby
good
Hooper
enough.
has
Yeah.
some hits and misses for sure.
It's definitely fine. I was just like, the fuck is this? And I think it was on like Shudder, or I want to say it was on Shudder. That seems like
I believe it. Yeah,
definitely on Shudder.
or at least Tubi. Yeah,
It was very entertaining. I wouldn't say don't watch it. I'd probably watch it again if I got the chance. The guy, it was well acted. Well, by that one, I don't know. I don't know. If this
Was
well
it?
acted. He was good. Yeah, I thought he was good because he played a really good deranged, like creepy lunatic.
Do you know who it was? off the top of your
What
head?
the fuck was his name? It was. I don't even know who the hell the guy is.
This is a Toby Hooper movie.
Yeah,
So
from
this
76.
had to have been.
Neville Brand.
Oh, okay. I don't know. This had to have been right after Texas Chainsaw,
Yeah, it must have been.
and then he had Salem's Lot, The Poltergeist, and no, he had Funhouse before Poltergeist.
Yeah, this one
Yeah.
must have went on the radio. You've never seen that movie, Eaten Alive?
I have not, but
Yeah.
Funhouse is underrated. I know that.
I 100% agree. I love that movie.
Well, if you like Toby Hooper movies, check it out. It's on Shudder.
I'll watch
I
it.
think. Yeah, it was entertaining. It was ridiculous. Then I watched a movie Mike had recently watched, Unwelcome.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
dude, I
I'm
know
happy
it's
you
shot.
watched that.
I thought that movie was very entertaining. I really enjoyed that movie. It was really weird because like it was very dramatic and like serious, and I was like, is this movie dramatic and serious? And then it was just the last like 45 minutes of this movie. It's like
Bonkers.
awesome. It's so good. Like once the red caps get involved, I'm like, let's go.
Oh, well, you kind of just spoiled it for people, but
No one knows what the fuck a red cap is.
if you Google it, you'll find out. But so I heard it described.
They talk
a
about
few
the red caps
times.
at the beginning of the
I know,
movie.
I know. In the trailer, probably too. But I heard it described as Straw Dogs meets Gremlins.
Well, yeah, it is
And
an
it's actually
invasion.
not-
like a home.
it's not-
It's a home invasion movie.
At the
What?
beginning, it's a
Yeah.
home invasion movie. But when you honestly, just watch it.
Alright,
You'll dig it. I think you'll
Irish
like
film.
it a lot.
Irish film.
Irish film.
Yeah.
Again,
It was
so
very
obviously-
entertaining.
Obviously, that makes me
Straw
like it a
You
Dogs.
little
just
bit
gotta
more.
you just gotta get through the first half.
Like Sam Peckinpah Straw Dogs with Dustin Hoffman
That's correct. Yep.
meets Gremlins.
Think about
Wow.
the like the tension of Straw Dogs, where there are people in an area where they feel like they're not welcome.
Mhm.
combine that with Gremlins and a little bit of supernatural horror, and that's what you get with this movie.
I will also say, like, you think this movie is like over at one point. Don't like tune out. There's like 10 minutes after you think this movie's over, and then it's just even weirder.
I know.
Because I started I was like, all right, that's the end of the movie. And then I started like looking at my phone, and then I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? It got even better. I was like,
so in my movie nerddom, I really like to follow the trajectory of certain directors, and I think this guy's name is John Wright, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
He's an Irish director, and he directed a movie called Grabbers.
We talked about that.
Yeah, we covered this on the podcast for St. Patrick's Day a couple of years ago, and I really liked that movie a lot. It was
that was like Tremors.
Very interesting take on like an alien invasion monster movie in Ireland. Like it kind of like, if you think about what all those entail, it's very funny and very good. And this is kind of like that, but a little bit more serious and a little bit more dark. But it's also still very funny. There's a lot of Irish actors that that are in this, like Colm Meaney is in it.
Oh yeah, he's like the only guy I really recognize.
The guy that plays Hodor in Game of Thrones is in it. The girl that plays Michelle in Derry Girls is in it. Like, there's a lot of like recognizable Irish actors if you're familiar with that sort of thing, as I am. But this again is one of my favorite horror movies of this year. It's not my particular favorite at this moment, but it's up there for me. And I feel like at the end of this year, when we do our 2023 horror movie rankings, this will be in my top 10, I think, for sure.
Okay.
I'll
have to watch this.
Yeah, it was well worth the watch. Like, I was a little disappointed early on, but then it hit it out.
I feel like we've kind of hit a lull with movies coming out.
Right? Yeah, I feel like considering the number, because I was looking at like my Letterboxd list for last year and the number of horror movies I watched last year, I'm not even close.
I had like close to 30.
Yeah, I haven't watched many. There's a couple I want to watch. Enys Men, ENYS.
Me too. Yeah. So I've heard of that.
I want to watch Swallow too.
Swallow too, yeah. They're available. You just got to rent them.
Yeah, they're available.
So Enys Men, I know I've heard recommended a few times on Colors of the Dark. I know they recommended it.
That's going to be
like folk horror type thing.
It was very grainy.
Yeah.
It was shot.
I think me and you will like this. Yeah. I think you and Kat won't.
Yeah.
It looks like a me and Matt movie.
Okay.
Like from the trailer. Did you see the trailer?
I have not. No, I have
watched the trailer. It's very
slow.
Yeah, it seems like a slow burn.
Okay, fair enough. Got anything else?
I finally watched Infinity Pool.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Finally watched that movie, and I gotta say, that movie is fucking wild.
Yeah, it's insane.
I'm trying to think, because I'm like, Possessor or Infinity Pool? It's real tough. I still think I like Possessor better, but this movie's very close second. And I was wrong about Mia Goth. She's hot. Like, she was very good. Yeah. She really turned it up, and she was fucking fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, she's insane.
Her and Skarsgård were awesome. All the side actors were fantastic. The writing, it's very similar to Possessor, though. Like, you can definitely, like, I'm not going to get into it too much.
So wait a second.
A lot of people haven't seen it.
Let me pause for 1 second. These are both Brandon Cronenberg movies, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Continue.
So, like, with the whole, I don't want to get into it. I mean, it's old enough, right, where you can talk about it.
Well, I haven't seen it yet. Don't spoil it.
I'm curious what you mean by you think it's like...
Just like the technology that they use is very similar.
Okay, yeah. So you're talking like futuristic kind of...
Like the legitimate, just like the technology aspects of it. The movie itself, I don't think are really comparable, but like
it's an extremely interesting plot.
Interesting plot.
Both of his movies he's had more movies, but these past two movies are the most notable that he's made since 2020, and they're extremely original, interesting.
Extremely
stories.
Original.
Yeah.
Very original. This one is more like a tale of basically like, if you have enough money, you can do whatever.
You can do literally whatever you want.
Yeah. And it's just like, I can't, like,
it's disgusting. It's a very disgusting
extremely
movie.
Disgusting, yeah. Very well written, very cringy in the aspect of like, it's like, oof, like what is going on? But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought it was very well done. Mike, you gotta watch it.
That's on Hulu right now, right?
Yeah, it is on Hulu. Yep. Okay. I didn't have Hulu, so I had to rent it.
Oh, another reason for you to get
$2.99. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? It was well worth it, though.
What the fuck are they doing?
I can't believe I took so long to watch that movie. I was like, oh, damn, this movie fucking slaps.
Awesome.
And then I watched, not a horror movie, but it's horrifying. I watched the Subway Scandal documentary about Jared Fogle. That was rough.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know if anybody knows like the exact details of that, but I didn't know.
It was like a child porn.
It was way worse than that. Like, child porn's bad enough. It was beyond that.
Oh,
like
really?
he was like a ruthless pedophile.
I've read about it,
Jesus
like that he
Christ.
was trying to get people to set him up with like young.
He wasn't
girls
trying to.
and
He
stuff.
set himself up with
Yeah,
plenty.
it's
He
God.
took advantage of 15, 16-year-old girls in New York City, in Thailand, all over the country.
Jesus
Like
Christ,
he
that's
was.
disgusting.
I was like, I watched it. I was like, damn, this is fucking depressing. And
That's
then
on
I fell asleep.
HBO, right?
Yeah, on Max.
Or on Max.
Yeah.
What a despicable
Maxwell?
prick.
Yeah, fuck him. Fuck Subway. Subway sucks anyway.
Yeah, I don't need Subway.
Yeah, go to a local
Subway's for
sub shop.
losers.
Their subs blow.
Yeah,
Anyway,
get a local sub like an adult.
that's true. Andrew, anything else to report?
That is all.
Okay. Well, that's what I got too. So why don't we pause for a quick 90 seconds for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back to talk to you about something that's new, intriguing, and fun. We'll talk to you soon.
It's official. The critic's decision is in. Spooky World is spectacular. Enter the new black hole. If you dare. Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. Phone the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200.
It's America's horror theme park, Spooky World. Sleepy Clovers.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's killer this year. Then be next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
All right, and we're back. Thanks for sticking with us through that little commercial break there. But I think we have a little bit of a fun topic to talk about tonight. And so I've kind of had this idea in the hopper for a little bit to talk about as an ongoing series. Something almost kind of like the drafts we do, or, anything else like that. Something that's not just a movie, something that's not just a usual episode that we do. I wanted to do something that kind of helped capture a particular moment in time for a horror fan. Not just movies, but horror in the overall sense of American popular culture, where everyone was at the time, right? If you're a horror fan, if you look back on a particular year, where you were at this time and what was out there for you as a horror fan. And so we're going to talk about the year 2017 in horror. I wanted to start off with a more recent year because I thought it would give us a ton to talk about, but I was also considering a couple of different years, including 1979, 1982, 1986, 1999, and 2015, but I ultimately landed here because I thought this was a good first place to talk about everything.
Why 1999? certain movie come out that
There
year?
were a lot of different movies that came out that year. Blair Witch Project, amongst other things. I thought that was a good year to talk about. But
Mummy come out that year.
what's that?
Did the Mummy?
The Mummy. The Mummy also came out that year.
You're
Yes.
just looking at each other being
Yep.
like, just
I'm like,
I didn't know if
just
you were-
just
say it,
fucking
dude.
say the Mummy.
I didn't know if that's what you were talking
Of
about.
course
or
that's
not.
what I was
I didn't know if you remembered what year The Mummy came out. But yeah, I was considering
I know
99.
when you're the Mummy.
2015, but again, we're talking about 2017, and who knows, if we have fun here and this topic works out and people like it, people listen to it, maybe we can do this in the future and take turns picking different years, because I think this could be an interesting
I think it's fun.
way to talk about some
I think
different
it
things.
Should be fun. Will
But
be fun.
yeah, so I mean, I think we're just going to talk about different sections of horror in the year 2017 and just kind of go from there and see where the conversation takes. It's going to take us to a lot of different places about movies, TV, books, haunted attractions, video games, lots of things.
Video
and
games.
gives us an opportunity to talk about a lot of different facets of horror in that particular year. It's recent enough where people that may listen to this episode may, recognize that. They may, have
They were actually alive.
yeah,
when
absolutely.
these
Yes,
movies came out.
exactly. So some of those other years they may not have been alive, but I feel like it's important to give a little bit of context about the year 2017 before we get into some of the horror stuff that came out, right? So
Yeah, remind me of the current events.
without getting entirely political, what I will say about the year 2017, we were all alive for it, obviously. It was a very angry and depressing year in American culture, right? A certain someone was inaugurated. The Me Too movement began. There was a massive shooting at a Las Vegas concert. There was the Charlottesville riots, all awful things that happened, right? And I only mention this because I feel like you can't ignore that bleak political and social atmospheres influence a lot of movies, not only in this year, but in the coming years after. right? And I feel like arguably the biggest movie of 2017 is tied directly into some of this stuff, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Wouldn't these movies mostly have been written before this?
Well, yes, but I feel like they almost were kind of like, so I feel like it was a almost kind of a lead up and a confluence of events, right? So it led up between, a lot of these movies may be written in 2015, 2016, and they were only...
But it was all brewing. Everything. It was a boiling pot waiting to just fucking bubble over.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess.
But, so I feel like that was important to mention. But, this was the year that the wrong winner was announced at the Oscars for Best Picture. Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
When it was supposed to be Moonlight, and they announced La La Land.
Yeah.
Yep, and it was actually Moonlight that won the Best
I've never seen
Picture
either of those
Oscar.
movies.
I haven't either. I haven't seen either of them. Also a year that brought us new albums, hugely popular albums from Taylor Swift, Kendrick Lamar, and the quote-unquote biggest song of the year, not for me, by the way, was Despacito, which was Justin Bieber and a bunch of other people. Not my...
Despacito.
Yeah, not my favorite song. I could probably name you a bunch of
That was the
albums.
biggest song of the year?
Yeah, the biggest single of the year, I would say.
Wow.
But I would also argue it's the most important year for horror in the 2010s. And here's why. First point, horror made over $1 billion with a B dollars in box office sales. Okay. Not that that is the be all end all of what's important for horror, but I feel like, in terms of, I feel like the last several years, there's been a lot of movies that have made a ton of money for horror movies, right, at the box office. But $1 billion is a lot, and over $550 million of that $1 billion came from It and Get Out.
I was just saying,
by itself.
What do they call it? The numbers are
skewed a little bit. There were also two other movies that came out this year that made over $100 million at the box office. Do you have any idea what they might be?
2017.
Mm-hmm. One of which is
Annabelle.
Annabelle Creation, because you probably looked at the outline.
Yeah, I did.
Annabelle Creation.
Thinking, wait, I know this.
Which wild, $100 million. That actually is a surprisingly good movie. And also, M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's Split came out in 2017.
See, I like Split.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that movie.
It's a decent movie.
It's better than most of his garbage that he's put out lately.
That's true. But yeah, a lot of money being made here. But it wasn't just a big year for blockbuster horror. I would argue one of the most important years in recent memory for not only indie horror, but foreign films. You get movies like Raw. You get movies directed by huge directors, not only of horror movies, but just directors in general. You get Mother, directed by Darren Aronofsky, right?
It's a fucking horror movie.
Yep.
Oh, 100%.
A24 had a few bangers in this year. Also, obviously, a huge year for critically acclaimed horror. So the Oscars. So basically, 2017, the Oscars. The following year,
Shape of Water, right?
2018, right? So you get two horror movies that are nominated for Best Picture, which would include Get Out and The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Which
Shape of Water.
Say what you will about Shape of Water, it won Best Picture.
I've never seen that movie.
It's essentially a retelling of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, just in a much more
dramatic and romantic. And, but there's
kind of clean cut way.
Yeah,
that's Del Toro.
It's a Del Toro movie through and through. There's some violence in there. There's some nasty shit. It kind of reminds me a lot of almost kind of like a restrained version of what's his biggest movie? Pan's Labyrinth. Yes, exactly. Yep. Also an incredible year in horror TV because there were lots of new shows that came up that became huge. There were a number of widely popular and critically acclaimed spooky shows that were already out and airing seasons in 2017. More on that in a little bit. There were some great books that came out from some of the more popular authors in horror today. There was a huge shift in horror video games. There was a huge boom in the haunt industry and the Halloween industry. There was over $10 billion spent on record for Halloween haunts and the Halloween supply industry as a whole, which is insane. There were also some ridiculous movies and TV properties that were turned into haunted houses between American Horror Story, The Shining, Ash vs. Evil Dead, Saw, Sinister, The Purge, all of which landed haunted houses at Halloween Horror Nights, which, might be the most premier haunted event in the country at Universal Studios across both coasts, which, I like the local haunts as much as anybody else, but the fact that you can turn these properties, especially something like The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, into a haunted house, wild to me. So there's a lot to talk about here, aside from some of the things that I just mentioned. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Bring it.
So why don't we just start out like we usually do? So this is pretty much going to be an expanded version of what we do when we talk about a particular movie, right? Where we talk about, okay, this movie came out in 1983. You want to talk about some of the other 1983 horror movies? We're going to do this for 2017 for everything, which I think should be pretty fun. And we're going to start with movies. So I have a much more detailed list here for 2017 than I usually would talk about on an episode because we are trying to, save some time and make everything within an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half. But here's a snapshot of, again, in alphabetical order of the major and I think most important 2017 horror movie releases, okay? Some of these are crap. Some of these are very good. I'll lead off. 1922, the Netflix release with Thomas Jane, based on a Stephen King story. Pretty good movie.
Yeah, not bad.
Alien Covenant.
Banger.
I love that movie.
Absolute banger. A Cure for Wellness.
Still haven't seen that.
Love it. Banger.
Gotta watch that.
Directed by Gore Verbinski, who became famous for a bunch of stuff, but directed a couple of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and left those movies to come back and do a bananas horror movie. This is a great movie that people need to watch. Amityville: The Awakening.
Never saw it.
Not a great movie.
No interest.
Annabelle Creation, which I already
Haven't
mentioned,
seen that.
made
Yeah,
over
I haven't
$100 million.
And you said
box
it's good,
office.
though, right?
No, so I've heard it's good. Never seen it.
You haven't seen it. Okay.
We have a Netflix exclusive here called The Babysitter.
It's okay.
Never seen it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
The Black Coat's Daughter.
Banger.
Very
Andrew,
good movie.
banger,
I
which
thought that movie was-
one of the A24 bangers I referenced before. We talked about this on an episode, I think, without Kat. I think she was unavailable for whatever reason. That's great.
This is one of our decade countdowns, I think.
Yeah, this was somebody's.
It was. I might have picked.
Might have been you.
I
actually,
love.
Yeah. That movie's very,
love
very
that
good.
movie.
Very.
We also got The Bye Bye Man.
I haven't seen that.
Never seen it.
Bye bye.
Andrew, Creep 2 came out in 2017.
I liked Creep 2. Not as good as Creep 1, but I thought it was still very good.
We also got a Chucky film in 2017, The Cult of Chucky.
Nope, never heard that
Nope.
one. I've seen that.
We got a remake of Flatliners in
Dog
2017. Yeah, absolute dog shit. Here's 3 in a row that are not dog shit. Gerald's Game,
Banger.
absolutely awesome movie.
Yep.
One of the best Stephen King adaptations I think of all time.
Surprisingly, though, have you read the book?
I have not.
The book is very, very good. It's short. It's easy to read, but it's very in one room, and you're like, how the fuck could they make
It's
this
a
movie?
horrifying situation, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Which
but
makes it
it goes
perfect.
back into some flashbacks that have to do with child abuse and stuff, and it's really fucked up. But it's like, how the fuck are you going to make this into a 90-minute movie?
And that when she finally
They nailed it.
fucking-
Mike Flanagan, dude. Leave it to Mike
Yeah.
Flanagan.
I would argue that, I love Dr. Sleep. I love Haunting of Hill House, love Haunting of Bly Manor. I love Midnight Mass. I think this might be Mike Flanagan at the height of his powers. Basically, I don't know how somebody...
It was the most
impressive.
impressive movie
Yeah.
I think he's made. He made something out of, for lack of a better term, nothing.
Yeah.
You know
it's
what I mean?
very
Just like
limited. That
he
makes
had
sense.
no room to work, and he made it happen. So
Guys, a movie that needs no introduction that we'll talk about a lot, I'm sure, Get Out. First
it's
directorial
arguably
picture
the best movie of the year.
from Get Out, from Jordan Peele, excuse me. We'll talk about that a little bit more. A movie we covered on this podcast, which I think flies so far under the radar, it's outrageous, is Ghost Stories. An unbelievable
the
anthology
Martin
of
Freeman
movies.
ones.
Yep.
Those
Yep.
are
Oh
very
yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
yeah, we did that one.
If Kat was here, she would argue for this movie. I think is best picture of the year. Happy Death Day.
I didn't mind that one.
I didn't really mind it either, but I know she is
Not
obsessed.
my
with
cup
that
of tea, but
movie.
it was fine.
We also got It Chapter 1.
Solid.
Very good movie.
We also got another movie from A24 here that you can argue for or against. It Comes at Night.
Not great.
I thought it was very
So-so.
underwhelming.
So. Jeepers Creepers 3.
Never saw
watched
that.
Never seen it. Another Saw sequel called Jigsaw.
Never saw it.
I was tuned out at that point. Another Texas Chainsaw sequel called Leatherface.
Never saw it.
Nope. Here's an underrated movie. Life.
Good.
Starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds. Ever seen it? It's a space movie about they
Good
discover-
body horror
Yeah,
movie.
it's a body horror movie.
Sounds fucking
Yep.
sick. Why haven't I seen that? God
Gotta
damn.
check it out. Gotta check it out.
It's got two
It's
studs
pretty
in it,
good.
too. What the fuck?
Here's a huge one that
the
I know
hell?
that you two both love, and that again I mentioned it before. Mother, directed by Darren.
See, for
Love
me-
it.
for
Life
me-
hates it.
For me, that's probably my picture of the year.
Okay,
I
this is-
fucking love that.
we'll
movie.
talk about that. But dude,
Aronofsky,
there's a bunch of contenders here.
I mean,
but
there's a few others. Too.
I certainly have that in contention. We also got Raw, a movie we talked about in this podcast,
I
a
like
French
that movie.
film,
Solid.
awesome movie.
Movie rocks.
A long-awaited sequel to The Ring, or the American version of The Ring, called Rings. Again,
Don't
never
give a
saw it.
shit.
Dude, was
Yeah.
Sonic in that movie? Should've been.
Should've.
Knuckles, maybe?
We already mentioned Split. That came out in 2017.
Fine.
I think here is one of the most underrated movies of 2017. That's called Super Dark Times. Ever
See,
seen it?
I haven't watched it, and I've scrolled past it like 55
You need to watch
billion times.
It is awesome. It's much more of a thriller that builds dread throughout the entire movie. It's very, very, very good. Andrew, an all-time Andrew favorite.
Killing of a Sacred
Deer.
I fucking
Oh,
love
this
that
movie's
movie.
brilliant.
Another
Movie's
brilliant
A24.
fucking
Another
movie.
A24
Barry
movie.
Keoghan fucking kills.
So
that movie.
A24
Yeah,
just-
that movie's
and Colin
movie's
Farrell's great.
extremely upsetting.
So to keep count, we have for A24 this year, we have The Black Coat's Daughter, we have Killing of a Sacred Deer, we have It Comes at Night so far. We also, one of my favorite movies, The Ritual, came out in 2017.
I love
Great
that
monster
movie.
movie. The Shape of Water, obviously, won Best Picture at the Oscars. Consider it horror, don't consider it horror, whatever you want to do.
Watch a
it's up
lady
to
bang
you.
a fish.
Yep, absolutely. Watch a woman have sex with a fish. That is your prerogative. I feel like that's
We
going to be
do not.
that's going to be
judge-
disqualified.
We
for
do not
most of them.
judge kinks
Right.
on the American.
I feel like
hometown
just
horror
just
podcast.
since it won Best Picture at the actual Oscars, I'm going to disqualify
Kink-free.
that from most of our conversations moving forward here because it did get recognition from the Academy. So whatever.
And we are not the Academy. We are the
not the
opposite of
Academy.
the
Yep.
Academy.
We
not
also
shame
got
kinks.
one of the most acclaimed foreign films that I've never seen. Tigers Are Not Afraid. You guys seen that?
Never even
Not
heard
seen
of
that movie.
No, you never heard of it?
No.
Oh, it was got a ton of reviews. Another one that got a bunch of good reviews was Tragedy Girls. Also came out in 2017. Both those movies talked about a lot by Colors of the Dark. We also got, I think, the final film in the Underworld series, Underworld
All of
Blood
those-
Wars.
All of those movies suck.
Okay,
I think I only
fair
saw the
enough.
first.
Ever seen Veronica?
Yep.
That's a good movie.
Only because someone.
Veronica.
Only because some bullshit article told me that it was so scary you couldn't finish it.
What
The
was
movie's
that?
fucking
I
trash.
feel like I
it's
have
it's
seen that
I
movie.
feel like it's a
Some
Netflix
bullshit
exclusive.
Netflix fucking possession movie.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I don't know. if
it's
it's
a little bit
Spanish.
overrated. Movie that's not overrated. The Void.
Good.
Another movie
Fucking
we covered on this
banger,
podcast.
yes.
And closing it out with another movie we covered on this podcast, XX,
Oh,
which is an
I-
anthology movie.
I will say there's one that was missed. It was Terrified.
I can't believe that I didn't find that on any of my things. But yeah, go ahead. Talk
It's a
about
Spanish horror anthology.
I've
and
been
it is
wanting to watch that.
extremely
You talked
fucking
about this on
scary.
the podcast.
Still on
It
Shudder?
was on. Yep, it
Yep,
was on
yep.
Shudder's 100 scariest or 101 scariest movies of all time. It fucking for sure earns its spot. I think it's in the 30s. It should be higher, if not higher already. That movie's fucking scary as shit. The scene with the little kid at the dinner table after he's already been dead and he shows up there sitting there with a bowl of
Oh,
cereal.
it's that movie.
Is-
Yep.
I remember
know
that
what
scene
you're
from
talking
Very
the, from the
fucking
countdown.
scary.
Yeah.
So that's a sneaky big win for 2017 for sure.
So let me just run through the horror box office real quick before we get to some other stuff about movies this year. Obviously, we talked about this, but the top 4 movies as a box office for horror this year: It, Get Out, Split, Annabelle Creation. All made over $100 million. All did very well. Huge return on investment. 5 through the rest. Number 5, Alien Covenant. Made 74 mil, which, again, I think that movie is underrated, and I really like it. I know a lot of people hate on it. Followed by Happy Death Day, which made 55 mil. Jigsaw, which made 38 mil. Rings made $27 million. Resident Evil, the final chapter, didn't even mention that, which I guess that came out, made $26.8 million. I would argue most of that probably came across, not in America. The Bye Bye Man, the Flatliners remake, oh, poop. Wish Upon, It Comes at Night. For some reason, Night of the Living Dead, the original 1968 George Romero Night of the Living Dead, made $12
Probably
million.
just some
A
sort of
re-release, something like that. The Belko Experiment, Phoenix Forgotten.
Ooh, Belko Experiment actually was interesting.
Never
That
seen
wasn't
it.
terrible.
Never seen it. That made $10 million. Killing of a Sacred Deer, Jeepers Creepers 3, Raw, The Bad Batch, The Void, 7 Witches, XX, and a bunch of other stuff. There were 38 horror movies listed on this website that came out in 2017 for a total of $1.064 billion. So,
$1 billion.
again, big year for horror. And I'm sure that there's probably a few movies that we missed in there, but it just gives you an idea of like how deep. I think that's a deep.
That's
roster
pretty
of good
fucking
horror
deep. And
movies.
there's like 10 in there that
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
So let me lay these on you real quick. So I threw together a quick. So I know Fangoria does this obviously with their Chainsaw Wars, but if we were to, I think, do the two most important categories in horror movies, right? So like, okay, we're gonna do Best Picture and Best Performance. We'll start with Best Performance, and I've laid out some nominations for you guys, and you tell me who you think is the winner. Okay, I have for Best Performance Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out, who was nominated for an Oscar for that same movie. I also would argue that Allison Williams in Get Out is just as good and maybe better. Jennifer Lawrence in Mother. Bill Skarsgård in It Chapter 1. Carla Gugino in Gerald's Game. Martin Freeman in Ghost Stories. Or Barry Keoghan in The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Who would you guys pick to win? You guys
is that just best actor / actress?
That's best performance. I'm not determining by actor, actress, whatever, supporting or non-supporting. I'm saying best performance.
Oh man, I mean,
so you can pick one, you can pick two, whatever you want. We don't have to pick
I'd
one.
probably go
We can overlap.
Keegan Lawrence for me.
Yeah, I feel like Jennifer Lawrence is a good pick there. Barry
She's
Keegan's
very
really good in Killing of a
Yeah,
Sacred
he's
Deer,
very
so
good.
that would be you. Okay, Matt, what do you think?
I like Daniel. He was very good.
he was insanely good in Get Out. Yeah,
He's very good in Get Out. So is Allison Williams. But I feel like, honestly, is It Chapter 1 a movie without Bill Skarsgård?
no,
It's not.
No, he did a very fucking.
He's so terrifying as Pennywise. I feel like that's the most memorable performance.
The only reason I can say no to that is because he's playing something so abstract
That's true.
that it's like, how hard is it
It's
to really
more
lean into
just
that?
a character.
You're like Daniel Kaluuya. Am I even saying his fucking name?
I think
Daniel
that-
Kaluuya, yeah.
He's playing a real
Kaluuya.
person
True. Yep.
reacting to an abstract situation. So that's why I'm like, I have to give him the shout.
I mean, I feel like you could make a good argument for any of these people.
I even
right?
thought he was fucking great in Nope.
I thought he was.
He was
I thought. I thought
so
he,
minimal in Nope.
I thought he was fantastic in Nope. I think
Yeah.
Nope's I think Nope is better. Than
I mean,
Get Out.
I
think Get Out's the most overrated movie out of any of his three. I think that's third on my list.
So
for me, personally,
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that there's any denying the cultural impact that Get Out had.
sure.
Right? I mean, you can't.
I'm
deny
talking
that.
as far as movie goes. I don't give a fuck about
Sure.
cultural impact.
Personal taste. I like all of Jordan Peele's movies a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think.
I think Us is my favorite.
Us is great.
Really. I think
Yeah,
that movie's so
Nope is
weird.
great.
It's so fucking strange. It's so good. I love that.
So I know you don't like Us, right? Is that
I don't not like any of his movies.
Okay.
There's certain ones that
yeah,
I
would say I don't think he's had a miss. I
No,
really
not
don't.
at all.
No.
There's just certain ones I think are better than others, and ones that I'm just not like
That's more my. It's just that's more my cup of tea type
yeah.
of movie. It's fucking bizarre. And
Yeah,
fucking
it's weird.
strange.
But I mean, I did not put together a best director category here because I feel like it so clearly goes to Jordan Peele. Correct? For Get Out. I mean, it
Most
has to.
likely, yeah. And that
It's-
was his first feature.
the fact that it's his
film,
first
too.
film. That's insane. Crazy.
I mean,
crazy.
Aronofsky.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you could argue for that. I mean,
I would slam Mother all day with every vote. So
Okay.
I love
yeah,
that
but I mean,
movie.
you can make an argument for Daniel Kaluuya or
Mother!
Allison Williams Get Out. Jennifer Lawrence in Mother is just making a good performance out of a chaotic situation. I already made my argument.
Javier Bardem's very good in that too.
He is. I made my argument for Bill Skarsgård. Carla Gugino, I feel like, is underrated in Gerald's Game.
she's great.
She's
Yep.
essentially the whole movie.
I did
It's pretty
consider
much
her.
just her.
Right. So it's
That's a tough.
without her performance, that movie does not
The
work.
fuck else has she been? Like she's been in a
Bunch of
billion
stuff.
things, but like she's so
Bunch of stuff.
I can't remember.
I think she's married to.
is she married to him?
No. Kate Segal is married to
Oh,
Mike Flanagan.
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Gugino. She was also in Sin City.
But she's
uh,
also acted in his movies, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in a lot of Mike Flanagan stuff. Martin Freeman, I think, carries Ghost Stories. He plays two characters that you.
Martin
I mean,
Freeman's
spoiler, but he's a great
fantastic.
actor anyway.
Oh, I just watched him. Another movie I watched, The World's End. Have you ever seen that movie?
yeah, I love
Simon
that
Pegg,
movie.
Nick
Yeah,
Frost
yeah.
movie. That's
Oh, yeah.
pretty
Yep.
good. He was
Yep.
in that. I forgot that.
And Barry
Silly.
Keoghan,
Very
I
silly.
think, is one of the most up and coming actors, like in
Well,
cinema
yeah.
now.
I mean,
Did you watch
Killing of a Sacred
Banshees
Deer
of
is
Inisherin
fucking
yet? I
crazy.
I still haven't seen
He's so good in that
Banshees.
movie.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
think
seen
he's
it,
great.
but I know he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor in that, right? So I mean, like, yeah. I mean, good actors do good performances, and these are a lot of good actors doing good performances in horror movies.
Barry
this year.
Keoghan is the kid in Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
a kid. He's a kid. It's a good performance. So I would say for Best Picture here. So I just Here's what mine would be. And if there's anything that I missed, according to you guys, for the movies that I just listed, you tell me. I'm listing them in alphabetical order here because I don't have any particular sway towards any of them, right? I'm just trying to throw them out, and you guys can pick whatever.
You're
movie
giving
you want.
a
He would be my nominees.
If you were the Academy.
So basically, the Academy lists 10 movies for Best Picture right now, so I picked 10.
Okay.
Here's 10, okay? Alien Covenant, The Black Coat's Daughter, Gerald's Game, Get Out, Ghost Stories, It Chapter 1, Mother, Raw, The Ritual, and The Void.
That was 10?
That was 10, I believe.
I forgot the
2,
second one.
4,
No, I'm just kidding.
6,
I'm trying to remember all of these.
8, 10. Yeah, that's 10. So, I mean, if you have something else that you want to nominate besides those, feel free. I feel like those are...
What are we giving, like our top 3?
No, I mean, just give your... What would you pick for your Best Picture of the year?
Mother for everything.
Okay, fair enough. Mother. Matthew.
Mother, Killing of a Sacred Deer, and probably Get Out. Those would be my top 3.
You're Killing a Sacred Deer would be my second, and probably The Void, because
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my personal affinity for The Void makes it very tough here.
The Ritual's close too, though.
But my Best Picture, I think is It Chapter 1. I'm sorry, I have to.
That's fair. I mean, dude, it was great.
It's a good movie.
It's the most popular blockbuster horror movie. I think most popular, right? Not the most important. The most popular of the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think by far.
It's one of those movies though that I watched once, and I'm like, I don't need to watch this again.
Okay,
That's
fair.
not to say that it was a bad movie. I thought it was a very good movie. I want rewatch.
You should read the book.
That is
You
a
should read the
long
book.
fucking.
You should
You
listen to
should
the
read the
audiobook.
book, though.
I should read the book.
Or
Maybe
figure
we
it
should
out.
start with like a 12-page book.
Or listen to audiobook because it was exciting to see that movie after reading the book.
I should do that. What do you just download? Can you download movies, books on Spotify, or do you have to get audio?
Do you have a
So you
books app on your
Google
phone?
Play Books
Oh, do you have an iPhone?
or Audible.
Oh, you fucking.
Use Google Play
Don't talk
Books.
about me like that. I fucking hate iPhone. Fuck you.
Use Google Play Books.
Google Playbooks.
Yes, and the book is read by Steven Weber. It's about 48 hours long, so enjoy
Steven
yourself.
Weber from
From Wings
Wings and from Storm of the Century.
and the Shining miniseries.
Oh, yeah,
plays
he was
Jack
in that,
Torrance.
yeah.
Yep, that's Steven Weber. Anything else you guys want to throw out about any
got
of
a
these
nice
movies? I mean, I feel like I have to like. Has a Xenomorph ever looked better than it has in Alien Covenant? I don't
No.
really don't know.
No, I
And
would have.
Danny McBride being
Great.
the
Danny McBride's
final,
so
the
good.
final boy.
Beautiful. Have to give a shout out for a cure for wellness too.
When's that? The new Alien movie that's coming out next year?
Alien Romulus is what the
Supposed to
working
be,
title is.
who
Directed
was-
by Fede Alvarez,
Is
who
that
directed
supposed
the-
to be a series or a movie?
So there's two things. There's an Alien movie coming out, and there's an Alien TV series coming out. The Alien movie is directed by Fede Alvarez. It's the title is
Alien.
the working title is Alien Romulus, and there's an Alien TV series directed by Noah Hawley, who directed or is the producer on the Fargo TV series
Okay.
and also the Legion TV series that was on FX. So he's a big FX guy.
Alien in the city.
Yep, I have faith in all of them, both of them, I should say. I love Alien stuff. So, but yeah, Alien Covenant, Cure for Wellness, and Black Coat's Daughter.
Black Coat's
Does not
Daughter's
get enough love.
Very underrated.
Directed by Anthony Perkins' kid, by the way, Osgood Perkins. That's such a that actually might be one of my favorite A24 movies. If we ever do follow through and do that A24 draft, it's going to be up there for me.
I mean, there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah. I mean, especially in this particular year, I feel like there's like three pretty good ones. It Comes at Night, not so
It
much.
didn't,
So
it,
maybe-
didn't hit. It was
yeah.
It was a slow burn that just never
Never paid
lit
off.
on fire.
Yeah.
It was just,
Super Dark Times, also really, really good. You guys both need to watch that if you haven't. And then if Kat were here right now, I know she'd throw some love for it, but I gotta give a little bit of love to Happy Death Day. I feel like it's a fun movie. It's like, it's PG-13 horror.
I thought it was
freaky.
very entertaining. It was fine.
Very-
I had no problem.
It was like freaky. I was like, this is fine.
For a cat pick, I was actually pretty happy with that. I was like, all right, I actually don't hate this movie.
And The Void, dope. The
You
Void
can't
is
fuck with the Void. You don't fuck.
It's dope. All right, cool. So that's 2017 in horror movies. You guys want to talk about 2017 in horror TV right quick? Because there's a lot here. Oh my God. So this is actually, we've never done this before. This is new territory for us. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So here is a list of any horror TV show that was either debuting a new season or starting off in 2017. So all of these shows were either like in the middle or debuting in 2017. Okay?
Okay.
American Horror Story's been running forever. This was their American Horror Story cult season, which was not one of my favorites.
Long tapped out before that.
I've seen one season of that show.
Any of you guys ever watched the Bates Motel TV show?
Yes.
Okay, I've never seen any of it. They were in season 5 in 2017.
I watched the
I heard
first,
it's pretty good.
I heard it's actually
It
really
is good. I just kind of fell off of it. I watched it in high school.
Okay.
Or
Isn't
like
Farrah
after high school, maybe.
Farmiga
Vera Farmiga
Yeah.
and Freddie Highmore.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
kid that plays the autistic doctor.
Yes, the Good Doctor. That's right. Yes,
Yeah,
that's that
same
TV show. We also got the 4th season of Black Mirror in 2017, which gave us episodes such as Andrew's favorite Black Museum, Metalhead, Crocodile, the
That was a
USS
brutal.
Callister.
This was where I
very, very
tapped out
very
on
dark.
Black Mirror for a while.
We also got an anime Castlevania series on Netflix. Anybody watch that?
Nope.
I have not personally, but I know it's about vampires and Dracula and all kinds of weird shit.
Castles.
See, here's where I wish Kat was here,
Yes.
because one of the most underrated horror TV shows in the last decade is Channel Zero.
Oh, I fucking love
In
that.
2017, we got the 2nd season, which was
Yeah.
entitled Channel Zero No End House.
We
which
talked
was
about that
fan-fucking-tastic.
for a good portion of one of the
Yep.
podcasts. I can't remember which one it was,
Yep.
but
Andrew, speaking of your pants tense, Dark was also running in 2017.
I watched the first season. It's
So
much.
confusing.
It's so much. It's almost like I wanted to start the second season, but I'm like, I don't know if I can. I don't know.
So
if my
some of
brain
these,
can do
by the way, are horror adjacent, and Dark is very much a sci-fi thing. But there are some
There's some
certain
horror
horror
elements,
elements in it. So I would count Dark there. We also Fear the Walking Dead was running this, which was a spin-off of The Walking Dead. Cool. An underrated show that came out on Fox in 2017 called Ghosted, starring Adam Scott and Craig Robinson. You guys ever seen any of those
No.
before?
I've seen advertisements for it, but
Yeah.
I never took it.
So
seriously.
it's about-
I kind of thought it was like a skit.
It's like a half-hour like comedy that's in the vein of like the X-Files, but more comedy, more played as a comedy. I liked it a lot.
I always
actually.
thought that it was
Yeah.
like a skit, and like never thought it was an actual show.
Yeah, it's
So,
an actual show. It got canceled after 1 season, but
but story checks.
decent show. I liked it. And on Amazon Prime in 2017, a show launched called Lore, which is based on a very popular podcast called Lore, which is done by a guy from Massachusetts. I believe his name is Aaron Mankey. But that's about a bunch of old school, like, how horror legends are made, that type of thing. Gentlemen, we also got the debut season of Mindhunter in 2017.
Oh yeah, David Fincher
Has to immediately
Right, yeah.
shoot to the top of my
That's
list for anything, right?
Top of my list.
Matthew, have you ever read Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King?
Yes.
Okay. What'd you think of it? Any
Great.
good? Okay. So did you know there was a Mr. Mercedes TV show that came out with
On Hulu?
Brendan Gleeson and...
I never watched it because I didn't finish the other two
Okay.
books.
Yeah.
but
So it's, I guess originally it aired on a network called Audience.
Mhm.
Never heard of it. It's now on Peacock. There's 3
Oh,
seasons.
it's Peacock? I
Mhm.
thought it was on Hulu.
Yep. Also, Santa Clarita Diet, which is a show
I never watched
with
that.
I love.
Timothy Olyphant.
I guess
Timothy
that's very
Olyphant
good.
and Drew Barrymore. It's
Yeah, I guess
fantastic.
it's
I
really
watched the
good.
whole thing. I love
It's
that
not
show.
more of like
I've
comedy horror?
had multiple
Comedy horror,
people
yep.
who
Okay.
are not horror fans tell me that it's
It's
really
very,
good, too.
very, very good.
They're like cannibals, right?
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
like
Drew
she's a
Barrymore
zombie.
is.
Zombies. Okay.
So Drew
Yeah.
Barrymore gets bit by a zombie, or it might not necessarily be a zombie as you continue to watch. She gets bit by something and has a taste for human flesh. So it's her and Timothy Olyphant, who I love, trying to kill bad people, to fulfill Drew Barrymore's need to consume flesh. It's actually pretty good. I like that
So
show.
he's almost like
Yeah.
her Renfield.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Arguably the biggest thing in popular culture that came out in 2017, we got Stranger Things 2.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. A lot of people say that this is the worst season of the show.
This is where I left
disagree.
off.
I disagree.
So this is why I stopped watching it.
This
Oh,
was the season that took
Oh, so
place.
you never.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know we
Yeah.
talked about that was like
Yeah.
last summer, right? We talked about this. Yeah.
I couldn't
This
make it past the season.
This
I
is the
can't
season
remember.
that took place around Halloween, and I really like this season a lot.
I love every season of
Yeah,
Stranger
I
Things.
do.
I don't give a fuck.
I'm biased. I love it all too. So Stranger Things 2 came out in 2017.
I just have nothing in common with little boys.
Fair
I
enough.
don't know.
You have a small penis, doesn't that count?
Well, yeah, but still, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
Wow.
what am I supposed to do?
Get a bigger one.
Apparently, there was also
Buy a bigger one.
Buy
There was
a bigger
also an
one. What the
MTV
fuck?
series based on Teen Wolf that came out in 2017.
Oh,
Anyone watch
love
it?
that one.
Nope. That's so great,
It's like,
right?
yeah, that's right up Matt's alley.
So I feel like one of the TV series that I've never watched that I've heard very good things about is the Exorcist TV series that came out
I did
on
watch
Fox.
this. This
Okay.
was actually surprisingly extremely good, and then they were like, "Fuck you, nope, gone,
We
canceled."
have one season.
I think I had 2.
I didn't even heard of that.
I heard it actually had a nice little cameo that tied into the movie.
Yeah, it was sick.
When's that remake coming out?
It's
October
supposed to be this
13th.
year,
Oh, this year.
but
Friday the 13th.
it apparently it tested horribly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
big
it's gonna be
surprise.
terrible.
yeah, they're doing reshoots and all.
Dude, there's
kinds
like
of
2
shit,
movies
so.
I care about this year: Oppenheimer and Dune 2.
Here might be the least horror show on here that I really loved. The Leftovers, the final season was on in 2017. Did you guys watch this show?
My buddy Dan has been telling me to watch the show for easily 10 years.
You'd love it. You'd love
and
it.
I just don't listen to him.
You'd
And he
love
tells me every time, he's like, "You'd love the show," and I just don't watch it.
It's
Yeah.
so
dick.
fucking. It's so fucking.
I'm a
weird.
piece of shit.
It's a weird. It's
Piece
so
of
weird.
shit. The baby knows I'm a piece of shit.
I think honestly, probably the most underrated HBO show that's come out in the
I
last
used to be
decade.
a piece of shit.
I used to.
Is,
You think
is
this
it
is
good?
slick back? This is pushback.
Isn't it like,
Oh,
isn't it like a religious show? Or like, isn't it like have to do with like the
yes,
rapture?
yes, and no. It's making fun of
Relax.
religion while commenting
I'm just
while
curious.
being religious at the same time. You just have to watch it. Like
How many
take my
seasons
word
are
for
there?
it.
100.
3 or 4? 3.
Okay.
It's honestly not that much of a huge watch.
And what was it on?
HBO.
Okay, so
I
it's
feel
like
like
I'm talking about a
I feel like
prestige
probably
just-
fucking decent.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I just have a problem with people telling me what to do.
Honestly,
I just don't want
I-
the-
Yeah, when
I
people
feel
tell me
like-
to watch something, I'm like, I'm not watching.
now I'm not gonna watch it.
Tell
Yeah.
me not to watch it.
Well,
I'll watch it.
Okay,
Yeah.
This
don't
movie
watch it.
sucked.
I
I'm
don't know
like,
what to tell
I'm
you.
gonna watch this and tell you how much this movie is great.
Any of you guys remember the time that Spike TV tried to do a TV series based on The Mist?
No, but I do miss 1,000 Ways to Die.
Is that the one that's on the Netflix one?
Yep.
Oh, I see. I've never watched that. That
It's
was Spike TV.
Fucking horrendous.
Oh, well, if it was Spike
the
TV,
worst TV show I've ever watched in my entire life.
then
Why?
unless the Spike TV show is named 1,000 Ways to Die, I'm not watching.
Yeah, that's what.
So
yeah.
basically, imagine the Mist story, and they take out the monsters and make the Mist sentient.
So it's just
Awful.
a fog that has a brain.
Yep, no monsters, but the fog has a brain. No
So-
thanks.
and you still have a crazy Christian woman.
Correct.
screaming at
You still have Mrs. Carmody, but they're
That
trapped.
sucks,
They're
yeah.
trapped in a mall,
And there's
this time,
no
as opposed
monsters,
to a
but there's
grocery
no
store.
monsters.
So, no monsters. Here's an underrated show again on FX. Anybody ever watched The Strain? It was
Yes.
based on books
Yep.
by Guillermo del Toro. I
Yep.
actually liked the
The
show.
show is crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's good. It's a good show. It's that was I think the final season of The Strain aired in 2017.
Oh.
Pretty
I
good.
never
I don't
finished
watch
it, but I
enough-
watched the
I don't watch
first
enough
couple of
TV
them, and it
shows.
was
Weird
fucking
vampire
wild,
show.
dude.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
I
Pretty
just stopped.
different
yeah.
take on vampires. Spooky. I'm telling you, pretty good. Got to check that out.
Treat it like a virus.
The Walking
It's like
Dead was
AIDS, like
airing.
an epidemic. Yeah.
Yeah, The Walking Dead was airing season 8 in 2017.
Who gives a
No
shit?
thanks. And I would say arguably the most prestige horror adjacent or horror show to air
We
in
Do in the
2017. Twin Peaks:
Oh.
The Return.
Never watched it.
Never watched it.
Well, I would say watch the original Twin
Well, I've
Peaks
seen the
first,
original Twin Peaks, and I'm
and
not a
then
fan.
Watch that. But
It's hard to
That's
watch.
David Lynch.
David Lynch.
Yeah, we talked about this like
It's very
recently.
boring.
Yeah, he's very overrated. I
It's
think he
very
sucks.
slow. It's very slow burn, weird. Like I'm actually surprised you don't like it because you like David Lynch stuff. I mean, I would think that you would appreciate his style of.
Yeah, it's just Twin
Weirdness.
Peaks. Twin Peaks
Well, he
is
did
hard to watch.
Eraserhead, right?
Mhm.
I like that.
You did pick
I
Razor.
did like that. I hated it at first. But
I like-
you
I like Eraserhead, but Twin Peaks is hard to watch.
Okay. Well, that's 2017 in horror TV, gentlemen. Anything else that I missed, or anything else you guys want to talk about? Do you have a
Did not-
favorite
no,
there?
I didn't know half of those
I know.
shows. so
It's
I'm
a lot. It's a lot, right?
I don't watch TV. That's the problem.
Oh, that's your problem.
I don't have cable.
All right, we'll talk about books real quick here.
I don't have money.
2017 horror books because I know that only applies mostly to me and Matt. But
I read.
I honestly, so I'll
Never.
full caveat. I haven't read any of these books, but I feel like it was a big year for big horror authors that are now bigger in 2023, right? So you got Sleeping Beauties, which is written by Stephen King and his son Owen. That was that came out in 2017. You also got another book by another Stephen King son, Joe Hill, which he wrote Strange Weather, which is a short story collection that came out in 2017.
Very good.
Yep.
I've
Haven't
read
read that. Josh Malerman, who wrote Bird Box, the book, which was turned into a very popular Netflix movie that I did not
Ugh.
care for.
Dog shit.
He wrote a book
I
called
hate Sandra Bullock too. She-
Black
Sandra Bullock sucks. She
Mad
annoys me.
Wheel. So Black Mad Wheel came out in 2017. Nick Cutter, who has written a couple of books that I've read that I liked. He's an acquired taste. He wrote a book called Little Heaven that also came out in 2017.
Well, him.
And Grady Hendrix, who is an author that I also like, but he's very popular nowadays. He wrote a book called Paperbacks from Hell. This is one that you should pick up. It's about 70s, 80s, and early 90s horror books. It has all of the artwork for them and descriptions of the books. It's very good. So it's not like a traditional read, but it's very
It's like
cool.
a big picture book.
Yep, pretty much.
Love
See,
that.
okay, so I would maybe read that.
Yeah, I'm sure
A
you
lot of
will.
pictures.
Yep.
I like
Big
pictures.
picture book. I mean,
Big picture. Is there a place for me to color?
yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
even better.
Also, I feel like it's important to talk about, I know not a lot of us play horror video games, but there was one horror video game that came out in 2017.
Alien Resurrection, or what was it?
No, not Alien Isolation.
Isolation.
So in 2017, a software company launched Friday the 13th, the game. Okay. This is notable because it was the first in a line, or one of the first in a line, of what they call an asymmetrical multiplayer game. It's based on horror movies. You guys are familiar with what that means?
Yeah.
Basically, so it's essentially a bunch of
the
people.
Killer,
Yeah.
you get away from
Yep.
them.
So it's one person trying to kill a bunch of people, or a bunch of people trying to kill one person, right? So you're either playing as Jason Voorhees, or you're playing as one of the many people trying to either avoid or kill Jason
Oh,
Voorhees.
this is like one of those stupid games my niece used to play on Mind,
That's correct.
whatever the fuck it is.
Yes. So you're playing on
Minesweep.
Mind blowing.
So say what you will
Mind-
about the trend of this type of stuff. I personally like story-driven narrative games that you don't have to play online, but it was big, right? Because it led to a lot of other games based on popular horror movies, which I'll get to in a minute. I think it's something worth mentioning, right? Whether or
Did I
not
say
we do it or not.
Minesweep because it was Minecraft.
You did say Minesweep.
Minesweep,
Yeah.
fun game. I
Yeah.
like that game.
Minesweep, yep,
Minesweep.
absolutely.
Oh, the flag.
So, I mean, the saddest thing about this, right? So it came out in 2017, but, obviously there has not been a Friday the 13th movie in a long time due to licensing issues.
That's fine.
right? With,
I mean, they made
so
enough,
basically the
didn't they?
co-creative series,
like
Victor
50.
Miller,
They hit their quota.
the servers for this game were shut down in 2020, November of 2020, which means that basically the game, they're stopped maintaining the game, and it's no longer going to be
Probably got
available
bored
after
with
a
it.
certain point. But so you can still play now, and as of December 31st of this year, it's going to be done. You can't play it anymore.
I missed my chance.
I know you missed your
It's
chance.
crazy, right? How that works, like video game wise.
Yeah, it's just done. No, there's no more.
I mean, it's
Wait,
kind of sad
why?
if you think
Don't
about
you own the video game?
all
No?
the people that worked on this particular game, put all this, blood, sweat, and tears into it. And
Well, now you're gonna get a Texas Chainsaw Massacre one anyway.
Well, so I was going to say, so
fucking
it's led to in future years, which a couple of them are coming out this year, but you're getting similar games based on Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Ghostbusters, Spirits Unleashed, which I have. It's actually
Phantasm.
pretty good. Predator, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is doing a game. Aliens, Dark Descent is one that came out this year. So you got
They're
a
doing their
lot.
Phantasm game.
No.
Oh.
Definitely
See,
not.
I don't see that on Mike's
That'd be
little.
sick.
Yeah.
list here.
So
My
I mean,
sister doesn't know shit.
it was the first.
Shit.
It was the first game in a major line of games based on horror movies. So I feel
So
like
they started a
it's
trend.
impossible to know.
They started a
that,
nice trend.
right? So,
Yeah, good for them. They're like
Again.
pioneers.
so again, 2017, big year in horror. A lot.
Do you think
to
it was
talk
like?
about
Do
here.
you think this was like if it was a roller coaster, or it was kind of just in a flat line, and then 2017, like it was picking up steam though, like from 2010 on, like it started picking up a little steam, and then 2017,
2015 was
catapulted it.
2015 was also in consideration for me. That's a big year.
2018 was also a good year.
But then it because it's really just fucking exploded in the last.
Well, I would say after 2022, we're on the
Well, the other thing that I
descent.
like to think about too, like if you redid so if these 10 movies, like the top 10 movies that you talked about, like in the box office, came out 2023, you probably could reverse it because those stupid movies that like Annabelle Creation and the Saw movie and all that stuff would be lower down, and these like lower budget, more indie films would probably be higher up.
Like Killing of the Sacred Deer. And
Yeah, that
and
Raw. I
stuff
feel like
that.
those movies would do better in theaters than those other movies that people are just played out and just done with. Like that's what I like about where horror is going now.
Yeah.
Is that people are just like, I want new stuff. I want something I haven't seen before.
Well, people want gore.
Yeah.
We're going back to gore.
Yeah, comes back to fucking Barbarian
Mhm.
and
Terrifier 2,
Terrifier 2.
Scream, Evil Dead Rise.
Yep.
So it's all coming back to this. The everyone's done with watching a million Conjuring movies.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Me too. I've been good with it since they fucking started.
I like
They're
this
great.
trend.
Like do one, cool.
Yeah,
Don't do 9.
One's good. You don't
Yeah.
need 5,000.
Also, don't do 9 of anything.
Because they're all pretty much the fucking same.
Just switch it up. It's good to have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, just come up with a creative idea and roll with it. Yeah. Or just be like, oh, this person made this scary fucking ghost story. Let's make another fucking. But that's never going to stop. That's never going to stop. There's going to be ghost stories for the rest of our days.
Whether or not you go and see them.
I ain't going to see shit. I ain't doing it.
I ain't seeing shit.
I ain't seeing any of those crap movies anymore.
One thing I think that's worth noting is that this was, I think, a huge year for Stephen King, right? Not only did you get
this was like the Stephen King.
This was the first year that launched, I feel like, the critically acclaimed movie version of Stephen King stuff, mainly because of It, obviously, which was one of the biggest movies of the year, along with Gerald's Game, which I think flew under the radar. But these were like two movies that made people realize, like, hey,
this guy's got some balls.
He actually can write, and it's not all schlocky horror bullshit.
It's
like, you can do good character.
These are just cokehead stories.
Well, like, do these people never see like Shawshank Redemption?
Well, I think obviously, I think, I feel like
idiots.
So, all right, so think about that, right? So, like,
I still haven't watched Carrie.
Obviously, I feel like people think of Stand By Me, Green Mile, Shawshank Redemption.
Those
movies are not like. They're Stephen King books, but they're not. Because Stephen King is known primarily as a horror writer. Those stories are not horror.
So there's movies directed by Rob.
They clearly never saw
or Frank Darabont, right?
They clearly never saw Thinner.
Yeah, Thinner.
Well, God forbid.
But I think that 2017
that was
showed
technically written by Richard Bachman.
You could make you could make scary Stephen King movies that were very character-driven and well-made,
they're actually
that made money and were critically acclaimed.
So like Graveyard Shift? That movie's
Graveyard Shift.
The Mangler.
Yeah, and obviously...
Langoliers.
Tominakas.
I mean, I feel like did we talk enough about Get Out and the cultural impact that movie had? I feel like we barely touched on Get Out. Did we really talk about that?
I mean, hasn't it been talked about enough?
It has.
We need to kill it?
No, not really, but I mean, like... I feel like
it was important, and it was the best movie of the year, in my opinion.
I feel like Get Out was good and bad for horror in the sense that it was obviously good because it brought horror to the forefront, and it was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, which was great. It kind of catapulted Jordan Peele into another level of stardom, right? Mm-hmm. But it also made people think falsely, by the way, that this was like the awakening of quote-unquote social horror, whereas horror has always been about stuff. And I feel like people were starting to realize, again, some of the political stuff I mentioned at the beginning, but take what you will, right? People were starting to think about that stuff more. And I think Get Out is about such a specific thing.
You know what? You know who the people that were saying, oh, this is about now horror social? You know who thought that?
People that didn't watch horror movies.
Dumb people.
Yeah.
Because horror has always been social commentary. Always been social commentary.
Every George A. Romero movie was social commentary.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your point.
You didn't. You saved me a little bit of words. So he had plenty to say socially with Night of the Living Dead,
Dawn of the Dead.
It's all three of them, the original Dead films, and so on and so forth. There were so many other movies. I wrote about Wes Craven saying violence begets violence with fucking Last House on the Left.
Yep.
There's social commentary in horror all the fucking time. And the people that were like, oh, it's just like, dude, no, you just don't like black people. Like,
well, I mean, Candyman.
Yeah. Like literally, it's just like anyone that was upset about Get Out, it's just like, dude, you got to take a look in the mirror.
Again, you're always going to have people that think they're smarter than they are talking about these sorts of things and don't realize these things. But I think the best thing to come out of this year was people realizing and the fact that we got Jordan Peele as a huge new voice in horror and social commentary and weird stuff, because everybody thought he was just a comedy person, right?
Yeah.
Which this was an unbelievable, blazing, huge debut, directorial debut. And
if you can write comedy, you can write horror.
Yeah. I mean, and I keep making fun of you, Andrew, about the call to arms.
That was something. That was much. A little
bit
Dude, much.
You made a good point, though. Comedy and horror are not far apart.
Well,
I can certainly see Tim Robinson writing a good
someday.
It would be fucking
crazy. It would be so wild. No, but he might be restrained. He might restrain it. I don't know, though. You can't be in it though. You don't get to.
No,
because
because you
ruining.
can't.
Yeah, because you're too insane.
I couldn't take it seriously.
No, I would be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Unless you
But
have
I mean-
you could have like a small 2-minute role. That's about it.
I would say this 2017 though was the beginning of like the start.
It would still crack me up. It's like a taxi driver.
Is this a driving crooner?
I love that skit so much. Try to steal my stuff. Love it.
Oh, frat guys.
What are you doing?
2017 though, I think with Jordan Peele and Get Out, you started to see I feel like the new wave of new, fresh horror directors coming because you got Jordan Peele doing Get Out, right? 2018, you had Hereditary, right? So you got Ari Aster, and
you already had Robert
Robert Eggers
Eggers.
with The Witch, right?
Yep.
That came out in 2016, I believe, right? So yeah, you're getting this
Edgar
new
Wright
wave.
ended up doing
Yep.
last night's
Soho. Criminally underrated. We talked about that movie in the podcast. I feel like nobody ever talks about that movie. It was very, very good.
Love that movie.
I know. It's very good. You do love that movie. So I just think for a number of reasons, this was a hugely important year in horror. For, horror and pop culture, horror fans that, like all the deep cut shit. It was a big year, and I picked it for this reason. I feel like there was a lot to talk about. Here we are an hour and a half in, so I'll talk about it. So is this something you guys want to continue doing for different years?
But we're going to get a wheel eventually. We're going to do that.
We should do it like a random kind of
just spin it.
pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be tough to do without a little bit of research
it would
about
be,
what came out.
No. You do the research
then we'll do
after
the
you pick the year. You pick the year. Like for the next one, we can pick a year right now. 1933.
So you're saying at the end of this particular episode, we'd spin the wheel, and then whenever we do the next
year,
one,
yeah.
that's when we talk about
because it's easy to go through and be like, "Oh, this year has a great hit." I want to find a year.
Make it
I'd love
random.
to have a year where all of a sudden you pick it and you go, "What the fuck is this?"
But what if you have
garbage.
just bad?
So it's
Then
a
you just
fun thing to
trash
talk about trash
everything.
movies.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, fair
Yeah, they
enough.
can't all. Not every year's a banger.
Hey, so I mean, this was a particularly great year in horror, but hey, if
Obviously.
we talk about a bad one too, that's fun too. I mean, I don't know. I thought this was a fun idea to talk about.
Oh, I think it's a great idea,
I
but
hope
I
you guys
also
had
think
fun
I
talking
don't
about
think
this
we
one.
should cherry pick the years though.
no,
The years,
right? Yeah.
We pick a year and that's the year.
Okay, fair enough.
I agree. Yeah, make it count.
Because then that will and I would like I think if we do it the week before, gives us plenty of time.
And there's
if
so
you
many
look at it and
hidden
go,
gems.
oh, there's
too.
a lot of stuff I haven't seen this year. Oh, I'm going to watch this
Time to watch
shit
a
movie.
lot of 1933 movies.
No,
I
we're
think
not
we should do
doing
one a
1933.
month. One a month.
One a
That
month
way
would be
we have
fantastic.
enough time to be like, okay, we know. And now we
Okay.
can go
Yeah,
watch
so
a
at
few of
the
these
end,
movies.
you have a
Yeah.
full month. We spin the wheel.
Well, there you go. You said everything I wanted to hear right there. So you guys want to make this a continuing
Oh, yeah, I
series.
think this is
you,
a great
you thought
idea.
this was a
Yeah.
good idea to talk about and
Yeah.
continue the series.
I don't care what Kat
Okay,
says.
fine.
You didn't say
Well,
shit.
Kat's
'cause
not
you're
here,
even
so yeah, exactly. So all right, cool. Anything else about 2017?
I was living in a den of iniquity at that point in time, so that's where I was.
A den of iniquity? What does that mean?
That's from Seinfeld.
Oh, okay. I was confused for a second. I didn't know what that was.
I think it was Peterman that said that.
Jay Peterman. I'm Jay Peterman. All
I was
right.
doing like Poppy.
Anything else?
No, I'm tired.
Non-Seinfeld. Brilliant.
I'm all done.
I got nothing.
I'm out of gas.
Well, that was the year 2017 in horror, folks, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike. I've been joined by Matt and Andrew, less Cat. If you're interested in our podcast and you want to keep listening, you can find us wherever you're listening right now, but we're also on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, and probably a bunch of other places. If you would be kind enough to leave us either a 5-star review or any other sort of review if you don't like us to 5 stars. I mean, we prefer 5 stars, but if you feel we're not 5-star worthy, leave us an honest review so we can get better. Reviews help us grow, help us get
Just don't leave
more
a review.
popular
If
as
you're
a
not gonna give us 5
podcast.
stars, don't leave.
Well,
Go
anyway.
fuck off.
Anyway, leave us a review, listen to us, and we'll be back next week with some sort of podcast about something that we haven't decided yet. Thanks again, guys. And gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Adios, muchachos. Peace. Bye. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and I want to say thanks again for listening to another episode of our show. If you're interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, you've got to check out some of the other shows from our friends on the Inebriart Podcast Network. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find the Inebriart Podcast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, Retro Redoctopus, and the Old Colony Cast, so head on over and give them a listen.